Greetings. Welcome to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. I'm your host, Brother Louis Muhammad.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Peace, brothers and sisters. Thank you all for tuning in again for another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. I'm your host, Brother Louis Muhammad. And today, family, we have a very special guest, a hard-working brother. And I say hard-working, I can testify on his behalf. He's definitely hard-working. If I had to describe him, I would have to say he is a straight soldier in the cause of Islam. As I already said, a very hard worker. I first became acquainted with our brother, and who I'm talking about is Brother Shakir Muhammad. He's the student representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the city of Montgomery, Alabama, of over the newly appointed mosque 101, if I'm not mistaken. But I say that to say, going back to how I met this brother while he was incarcerated. But I didn't go and speak at the prison where he was, but from the organizing work that he was doing behind those walls in the belly of the beast, working to get to make it possible for those who are incarcerated to receive training, to receive a uplifting word, messages from the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad for our brothers who were behind the walls, right? So I can't wait to have you all to hear the testimony of our brother. So let me bring him on right now. Assalamu alaikum, dear brother.
Wa alaikum salam, dear brother Willie. How are you, sir?
I'm good by Allah's grace, man. And once again, I'm so honored, brother, that you had the time and you were able to accept our invitation to be a guest on our show. I Have a Testimony.
Yes, sir, dear brother. Honor is totally mine. I'm thankful for you extending the invitation.
Yes, sir. And before we get into the interview, I'm going to ask this question because I know it's on everybody's mind, especially that you're from Montgomery, but I'll ask it in a different and from a different perspective. You know, the internet was set ablaze when they recently had the Montgomery brawl, right? When you show our people coming together in the fight against white supremacy and racism. And you've been on Closing the Gap. In fact, last Saturday you were on talking about it, and everybody's seen it on the news. But I want to ask you this question regarding that. You know, normally after they have something like this, you know, the Montgomery incident, the city will try to come together and do like this kumbaya, let's have healed race relations and all of this type of stuff. So that is my question I want to ask you. Has there been any effort like that on the behalf of the city? Like, what's been the aftermath of what we saw online?
Well, quite contrary. The aftermath is there were some homes, there were vehicles and mailboxes vandalized in the Black community with swastikas, derogatory terms, and it's an ongoing investigation as I speak. So there's not been a kumbaya moment, and what we're trying to do is not allow our people to go to sleep on this situation and not keep their guards up, because we're dealing with a real issue. And I don't believe that those who are affected, and I'm speaking of Caucasian people, that they're going to allow this situation just to be swept under the rug, so to speak. Pardon me. So again, there's been an incident right after that. So there's not been a kumbaya.
Praise be to Allah. Yeah, you know, I was thinking the same thing. You know, those people don't take L's quite lightly, and every time throughout history where we've scored a W, they come back to try to get their counter action or their lick back. So thank you for sharing that. So one of the things I love about doing this show is I get the opportunity to hear people talk about how they came to Islam, and my audience gets the opportunity to hear it as well. So I want to ask you, can you share with us how you first came into contact with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Okay, I'm going to move fast because I know time is of an essence. But I first heard the teachings unbeknownst to me in the mid 80s, out in the streets. And I heard it through another party. And then moving down closer to, I think around 88, there was a brother who was, he had fell victim to drug abuse, but he was familiar with the teachings, and he would get high and began to just talk, and his talk that he was giving, it was, it was strange, it was different, but, being a younger man, I really didn't pay any attention, but a seed was being planted. May Allah be pleased with this brother Mike. He's gone on, but he was the first person I heard actually talking about the Nation of Islam, and of course through rap, Public Enemy, Eric B. and Rakim, and so on and so forth. I was hearing things, but again, no connection, but seeds were being planted. The first message to the black man I received was from a brother by the name of Frederick 2X Holman. This is moving fast forward, being incarcerated. This brother, Frederick 2X Holman, I pray he's still alive. And if he's watching this, I thank Allah for that brother, because he gave me a message to the black man, and he explained some things to me about Islam. And I forever will hold that brother dear in my heart, Brother Frederick. And moving, a little faster, I studied, I read. Now, I wasn't the brightest or the sharpest knife in the drawer, so to speak, but I read, and I still had things I was trying to overcome in my life. But my first brush with Islam was through those brothers. One brother was a drug addict, and another brother was, of course, incarcerated. That was my first brush with Islam.
And so from that brush with them, you eventually you basically accepted the teachers and began to start practicing.
I accepted hook, line, and sinker from the beginning, because I was really, to be honest with you, brother, I was trying to find something for me. I was trying to find my way, so to speak. And when I read the message to the black man, and it was talking about God being a man, well, I understood that because I come from a real society, and coming up in the time that I came up, I understood that in order to have something, you got to get out and get you some money. So I didn't believe in spookism. I knew that if I wanted to make things happen, I had to make it happen. So that wasn't hard for me to grasp, that God was a man.
Praise be to Allah. And I opened up the show talking about the work that how I first met you actually organizing, right? So, and how you were providing brothers with the opportunity to hear the teachings and hear from some of our greats in the Nation of Islam. Can you talk about some of the things that you were doing while you were in the belly of the beast and how you were organizing?
Well, one of the things I had to first do is overcome my anger problems. And one of my anger problems was fighting. And I would get into, and the brothers would tell me, I'm laughing because it's funny now, but the brothers would actually, because I like to shoot ball, I was a ball player, the brothers would actually come to the games when I'm playing, brother, and sit on the sideline and watch me to make sure I didn't get angry or argue or anything. If I did any of the above, then I had to stop and do push-ups or come off the court, but it was good. I appreciate that it stopped me from getting into a lot of battles. But one of the things that I always wanted for the brothers and myself was to be properly informed. And I always knew that if the brothers on the inside were able to look or listen to some of the brothers and sisters on the outside, it could not only help, but also inspire them in their situation. Because the reality is that when a brother is incarcerated, even his family sometimes are not supportive. When a brother's incarcerated, he's kind of like put in a graveyard. And if he does not have any support, then he can get lost in the system, so to speak. So I wanted to open up an avenue where if you didn't get a visit that weekend, well, guess what? we have a visit for you coming from one of our brothers or sisters from the outside via teleconference. And what I did was I started a teleconference called The Cage Thought. And my reason for doing that was to make sure that the brothers on the inside could hear someone from the outside in the Nation of Islam. So I would call brothers. Now, this was all, under the Underground Railroad.
Understood.
But, I didn't want to use the resources for just joyriding, so to speak. I wanted to use it to help. And that was some brothers I got pushback from, and there was some brothers who were giving me an interrogation. But, man, I wasn't with that. My job was to make sure that those of us who are incarcerated have an opportunity to hear from somebody they may have saw on a video, someone that they may have read about in the final call. And I knew if they were able to hear that, that can be inspirational. So it was I know it was illegal, but hey, man, you got to do what you got to do sometime. Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah, man. And as I hear you tell that story, man, you overcame obstacles and you made it happen. And like, you're right, man, because I know they heard from Brother Captain Dennis. It was several people that they heard from, man. I can imagine to be able to see a man on a video with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and now in that environment in which you're in, you can hear him now, man. That much blessings came from that, brother, from the work that you were doing in there. And I know. And as I transition from that question, I want to ask you this one. You have accomplished many, many great things, and there's much more you're scheduled to accomplish as well. You talked about what you did when you were behind the enemy's home and in prison. But one of the things that a great accomplishment that I see as well that you've done is that, man, you have your mother, who's a part of the ranks of the Nation of Islam, a believer in the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and Allah, who appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. Can you talk about how that actually came about, where she ended up accepting the teachings? Because a lot of times people's parents don't do that, right?
Yes, sir. Brother, to be quite honest with you, that is a blessing that I'm still thanking Allah for. She would have to tell you her reasons. Okay. That's a picture on the day, I think the day I came home. Praise be to Allah. But I think she would have to explain that. But man, I'm going to tell you something. My mother has always been a real person. She's always had a genuine heart. There she is, Sister Sarah. She's always been loving and kind and would help anybody. She's never met a stranger. And I thank Allah for that spirit that she has. She put that in me by his grace and permission. But I think my mother knew about me that if I did anything, I was going to be straight up with it and 100%. If I was going to be a fool, I was going to be a 24-karat gold pure fool. And when she saw that I was trying to do right, it gave her an inspiration, I guess, to look at it as well. One of the things that she shared with me, she asked her former preacher to, come see me or write a letter on my behalf, and he lied to her. He told her that he was going to do it, and he did it, and he lied to her. And I think that hurt my mother because she probably had some trust that this person would be a man of his word. But my mother has been soldiering with me from day one, and I thank Allah for her. And she's a soldier. She's a soldier. So I'm thankful for my mother and as being a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the example of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. But I just was asking to go out, go check it out. And I would talk to her about certain things. And Minister John Muhammad, Brother Richard, Brother Reginald, and other brothers and sisters who here, Brother Thomas, they were helping her to understand what I was saying. Plus, she had always been around. She was riding with us before she even got her ex. She was rolling, doing things, searching and everything. She was in it. So she a soldier.
Praise
That's what I can say
Allah,
about my mother, Sister Sarah.
Praise be to Allah for Sister Sarah, man, and send her our love and our blessing and our prayers. And since we talking about, I know, man, making that transition for many, making that transition from being incarcerated to coming home is a challenge. You know, it's a challenge to get accustomed to how the world has changed, not to be pulled back into old vices. And there's so much. And some people make that 9,000-mile swim, some people don't. This is a two-part question. One, what were some of the things that helped you when you came home to enter the ranks and to remain in the ranks?
Well, let me go back inside, because, brother, when I accepted this, I lived this. And this is all I've done my adult life, is follow this program, because it changed my life. And so I got in it and I stood on it. And while I was there, we were compared to, from the system standpoint, we were like Mars Marion. This is what they called us. That's the headquarters of the system. Not because we were jiving, man. We were seriously putting it in. We've had some heavyweights come to those institutions because of the work that we were doing. We were touching 1,500, 2,000 brothers and sisters, monthly, you know, and we were soldiering. We were probably the only institution in the system that was we drilled, we checked before you came in, police and all.
Wow.
We had that much respect. And we were doing things that the others got in other institutions, they got strength from and began to do. So it was a whole change in the environment, brother. I'm telling you, you know, the administration, when issues would come on, they would come find me and say, hey, brother, before we do anything, we're going to, what you can do with it. And we would go and address the situation, because we didn't want any murders on our watch. And we are proud to say, in that institution, when we were there, we only had one fatality, only one. And that was by Allah's grace. But, you know, we were the friend of our brothers. We didn't act like we were up, you know, so this or that. No, young brothers coming to camp, you know, we would be at the back gate waiting. Come on, brothers, this what you about to get into, the Nation of Islam, you know, because what you want to get into, you may not be ready for that. So we would go and get the little brothers, man. The officers would say, man, this brother, he 18, man, y'all get him. And we would get him, you know. So I say all that to say this. This is my life. This is how I live. So if the transition from coming from incarceration to society, I always stayed learning while I was incarcerated. I always stayed up on the modern technology, because I worked at the trade school, and I would help brothers get their GEDs. I would help them learn skills. So when they came home, transitional skills. So I always stayed in the know. So I was never lost in the system. I always stayed with my mind outside of the system. So when I came home, my mind was already made up what I was going to do. You know, I was coming home to soldier, because I love soldiering. So that's what I was coming home to do, brother. So it wasn't a difficult transition, because all my friends in the mosque.
There you go. Beautiful. And I read.
Let me say this.
No, go ahead.
Believers in Montgomery nurtured me along the way. See, we ain't just met each other. You know, this is my home. So we've been riding this thing the whole time. We had good help coming in. Student Minister John Muhammad, who was the minister at that time, Brother Reginald Muhammad, Brother James Muhammad. So we had good people, Brother Richard Muhammad. They were coming in, and, you know, so we were learning how to do things. Yes, sir.
Praise good, man. And then you just fell right in this. You fell right into the flow of things,
Yes,
and we're
sir.
thankful for that. You know, I've also read that one of the things that helps brothers during that transition from being incarcerated to being back on the streets, to achieving some normalcy, is a strong relationship. And I know when I've traveled there to the city, the love that you have for your wife, I see you all on social media. Can you talk about how that helped you?
Oh man. You know, a man really does not know who he is, as Minister Farrakhan has said, till you have a wife. And coming from that situation, for the time I've done, you can get selfish. And you don't know you're selfish till you understand somebody else. You know, You know, I like sports, so I may watch the football game, and I may not consciously think, well, you know, I may need to see what she may want to watch with me. You know what I'm saying? So what that was, it was a balance for me to understand better my strengths and my weaknesses and what I need to do to be a better husband. Shout out to my wife, Sister Kelsey, for putting up with me. Praise be to Allah.
About that, and I want to get ready for this next question. And I want to ask you in regards to, you know, you came home, fell in the ranks, and there was a study group. So how did you become the appointed as the study group coordinator there in the actual city of Montgomery?
Yes, sir. When I came home, student minister who was a student minister in Mosque, Muhammad Mosque number 69 in Birmingham, Brother James Muhammad was acting as the study group coordinator, but he was traveling from Birmingham to Montgomery, and that was a toll. So what I would do is I would just do what I do, work, and so on the nights like Wednesdays or Fridays, pardon me, that he was not able to be there, I just filled in the gap, and just kept doing that, helping the best way I could. And if he was not able to make it on Sunday, I would fill in and just cover down for my brother. And brother got sick and he was unable to make it. So I just kept rolling. And eventually they said, well, okay, we're going to put you in the spot. Praise be to Allah. I mean, no problem. I accept the challenge. Because this is all I know, man. I'm just being real with you now.
And so
it was not a difficulty for me to accept that, because I'm a soldier in the army of Allah. So whatever duty calls, you got to step up. You know what I'm talking about, bro.
Yeah, because most of us, as our captain here always says, most of us end up getting in these positions because we were doing some type of work. You know what I'm saying? Like most people in these positions didn't get in these positions from being some slacker.
No,
and
sir.
So your work, your continued work, definitely made that place. And so we talked about that. Now you all recently.
Let me give a shout out.
Let me give a shout out. Go ahead.
To all the brothers who are still in the belly of the beast. Do not give up. Keep the faith that what Master Fard Muhammad promised us is real. Just keep the faith. Don't give up. He said, set yourself in heaven at once. He didn't say if you were free or you were in bondage. At once. Your mind has to understand that whatever you're going through now is not forever. Keep the faith. Keep mashing, and you will be successful.
And that's one of the reasons why I started off with that line of questioning, because I want people who see this video who may be incarcerated or have somebody that is incarcerated, that they can see your example and hear from your experience, and they can be motivated. And like you just said, to keep the faith. Now, you all have just made history there in the city of Montgomery, becoming the 101 mosque in the Nation of Islam. And the southern region is also, praise be to Allah, to our brother Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad. You all are pumping them out. So can you talk about, just take us through that history, man, that journey of working to become a mosque, and just how you felt. Just take us through that journey for right now, and I'll ask a follow-up question later.
I always have to give credit to the brothers and sisters who labored all these years to make it to this point. There's been a host of student ministers that came through Montgomery, but one student minister has always been dear to me is Minister John Muhammad, who has held this flag for a long time through the ups and downs. Minister John Muhammad has always been a soldier, and a lot of the things that I've learned has come by way of Minister John. And he's 90 years old. And brother, I'm gonna be honest with you, in the process of us getting this, it brought us closer to understanding why it's necessary to make this happen. And wow. The road was not a road that was easy, but it was a road that was necessary because it showed us what was in all of us. It showed us what we could do collectively. And so, there were those who didn't believe we were able to do it, or we wasn't ready for it. And there were those who were saying, well, yeah, let's keep mashing. And there were those who just was on the sideline, whatever went on. But we kept going, and we put in our charter. It was over a year ago, and we had Brother Abram come in. He sit down and talk to us and give us some insight on things. And we put the plan of action together and went to work, and from there, when we made the history, we still really have not really, I believe, we've still not really understood the magnitude of what we accomplished together. And the history would tell those that come behind us the great work. We set the flag in an area where the Southern Poverty Law Center sits, where it was called the cradle of the Confederacy. We set the flag of Islam in the city where black men and women would turn inside out, where it's called the heart of Dixie. See, when this flag was set, a declaration of war was enacted. So we understood that when we came to this point, we had to definitely be on guard and push forward even more, and the fight has just started. The shot has been fired. But it is a blessing by Allah's grace and mercy to make history in our nation, man. And that's something, again, any brother and sister who's going through something in their lives, this is an example that you can overcome if you continue to have faith and believe in what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us through his national representative, Jesus in our midst, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan came into the nation. He was a builder, man. Minister Farrakhan started from nothing. He's a builder. So that was the inspiration that all of us built from. The minister brought us from zero, man. It was like when the God started from nothing. He brought us from zero. So that tells all of us, no matter where you are, if you are a study circle, a study group, if you believe and stand on what he gave us, man, you can also bring whatever you at from zero. So this is historic, and we thank Allah. We thank Minister Farrakhan continuously for standing up. And we made our. Well, he asked for this city. That's what they told me. That the minister asked for the city of Montgomery. The minister, we have delivered it.
Praise be to right there in Montgomery, you have that historic, the museum there, the Legacy Museum.
The Legacy
Museum. Black folks caught hell in the city of Montgomery, and added all that to what you said. And in addition, at a time where the enemy's evil and his filth has increased even more, to be able to get a group of believers together and be able to reach mosque status is not, especially in my opinion, post 75, is not an easy task, brother. And you all were able to do that. So still in the vein of talking about that line of questioning, do you remember where you were when you got the news that it's been granted?
Yes, sir. We were sitting, I was sitting with Minister John, because we had a little insight that we might, get it on and popping, so to speak. And we were sitting at the National Believers meeting, me and Brother John together. And when the announcement was made, I gave him a hug and I said, "It's yours, dear brother," because you put in the work and we're standing on your shoulders. Thank you for your sacrifice. He's a pioneer, man. So thank you, and I wanted him to see that before his eyes closed on this earth, that we gave him something that he had worked hard for all these many years. So, hey, man, that was good to me. Those are two brothers that stood up to join this Sunday, this past Sunday. Praise be to Allah. So I wanted not just Minister John, but all the brothers and sisters who sacrificed. Brother Thomas, Brother Thomas is a brother. The building that we reside in, this brother gave us the building out of his pocket.
Wow.
This is ours. We don't have to
Praise
worry
be
about
to
that,
Allah.
and those type of sacrifices, you gotta recognize that, and so, hey man, we own it, bro. With it, we gonna fight hard by Allah's grace to maintain what Allah has blessed us with. We thank every brick in the wall.
Mm.
We thank you because you came down and gave us some conflict resolution.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that was right, probably the last city I visited right before
Right?
COVID really
Yes,
kicked,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Yep, it was
Yes,
it
sir.
was really kicking there, man. Well, my wife and I, my family and I, we enjoyed our visit there, man. I'm so proud of you, man, and so proud of the
Thank
work
you.
that you all are doing, and it's motivational and is encouraging. So keep it up. And since we're talking about the work, we talked about how you are there in the southern region under our brother Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad. And so my next question, what I want to ask you is, can you talk about, your experience serving under our student regional minister there, brother Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad? And can you also talk about just some of the stuff, the lessons that you have learned and are learning as a result of serving under our brother?
Yes, sir. One of the things I've learned from student regional minister Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad is work. Minister Sharif is not a brother of many words, but he allows his actions to tell you the type of man and the type of heart he has. And, I like that because that's the type of person I try to be. And I've learned a great deal from student minister Sharif with regards to organization, with regards to administration, and with regards to following protocol. When you're green and you're a little raw, you sometimes move, and you have to understand how the Nation of Islam is set up, and we're set up to follow various protocols and chains of command. Well, when you don't know, then you sometimes can be a loose cannon. And that was me, I confess. But I've learned a great deal from our brother on the value and the importance of that, and always showing love to the believers and honoring those who paved the way and those who've helped you along the way, because he's been a faithful servant to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And so the minister said that he was a worker, and he's a witness bearer that he is that.
He's definitely that, man. And as we continue to move down this line, let's talk about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, man. I always ask people this question, that if you had the opportunity to stand before the world and give your testimony about some quality or something that you heard or seen of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what would you testify before the world about this man?
I would first say the Minister Farrakhan is a man with the heart of God. I would say that Minister Farrakhan's love is what saved a wretch like me. I would say Minister Farrakhan is the active and permissive will of God in our midst. I would say that were it not for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, many of us would be dead, on drugs, doing something that is non-productive. I have been the greatest man I could be in my life by the example and teachings of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. The successes or so-called successes that we call success in my life has been a direct result of me following and listening to the guidance of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. I could not have made it through what I went through in my life were it not for the words and the guidance and the teachings of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. No way, no how. So I owe my life to what the minister has given me. So it is what it is, man.
And thank you for sharing those words. And you've been the student minister. What's the student from the student coordinator to the student minister? How many years?
It probably was right before COVID.
Right before COVID. So that's 2019 up until, it was about 5 or going on 5, little 5 years or on 5. What would you say has been some of the lessons that you have learned as you served in this post?
Don't push the believers to do. Be the example to the believers of what to do. Put the believers on your shoulder and run with them. Because our people, this is just my understanding. Our people, although we're in the mosque, our people have been destroyed and beat up. And the last thing that they need to see is a brother who is working with them that's in that same light. So I just try to be an example to the believers to help them overcome whatever difficulty in their life, and I had to learn from the believers not to give spite for spite, because being a soldier, a warrior, the first thing I want to do when you hurt me is what? Hurt you. But I learned from the believers that it don't require that. Otis Redding had a song, and the song was "Try a Little Tenderness." And I've learned to try a little tenderness. Don't be always having to have the resistance, but just be patient. Because there were many who were patient with me in my growth and development. So just be patient with the believer. I come from an environment where you didn't question, you did. And I had to understand that our brothers and sisters, some of them, you have to just be patient with them. You have to love them, long suffering. And I thank them because they allowed me to see another side of myself, which is a better side, that you can't be an extreme. You got to have a little balance.
Beautiful, man. And this question just came to mind. How was your, when you were released, and how was it your first Savior's Day? How was that, man?
No,
experience it?
Listen, the first was the Holy Day of Atonement.
Okay, let's start there.
Listen, man, I'm gonna show you how it happened. Me, my faithful companion, Minister John and Brother Reggie, we went to Atlanta, and you have to move like you know where you're going. And we were moving, but they were trying to direct us to the overflow. And I told them, I said, hey, bro, this is my first time. I can't go to the overflow, man. I cannot go to the overflow room. And Minister John, the OG, he knew somebody. He greeted. When he greeted, we came on in. And we got in, and that was the first time I was able to be in the same room with the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And what that was, man, sitting in the watching the videos with the brothers, and we saying, man, I can't wait till I'm able to, to be in the company of the leader. And man, that was surreal, because what went through me at that moment, all those brothers that were left behind. So I stand, for those brothers, man, to make sure wherever I go, I represent those brothers who I left behind, unfortunately, in that situation. I stand for them, and so that was surreal. But when I went to Savior's Day, man, please, that was like, and I've never been to Mecca, but I can imagine, that was something that I had never experienced. And to see all of the believers, and as the Holy Quran say, in that day, all you'll hear is peace, peace, peace. And, going to Savior's Day and just seeing the brothers and the sisters moving around, hey, man, I can't explain it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I cannot explain it, brother. You just had to be inside of me to know. Those chills come over your body, you in situation. It was kind of like that, man. And again, everything that I went through, my reflection always went back, to those brothers. And so again, that's my motivation, to always allow them to see, man, we can make it.
And you speak about the brothers who are still behind bars.
Yes, sir.
Have you been able to go back, being that now you're the student minister there in Montgomery, to go and minister and teach to them?
Yes, sir. I came back the same weekend I got out, brother. That Sunday. I went right back, so they can see, man, your brother made it. And when I came home, it was during Ramadan. So I went back as well and sponsored the Eid feast, to the brother. So yes, I'm the state prison reform minister now, and I go back. In fact, they're planning something for me to come in pretty soon at the end of this month. But yeah, I go back to show, man, that I'm with you. And so that brothers won't have no excuses, man. No excuses. You can make it. So yes, I go back to various camps to help and assist.
Beautiful, man. And how's
Let me give a shout out
yeah,
to
go
the
ahead.
to the student national prison reform minister, Minister Abdullah, my main man.
Mm-hmm.
Minister Abdullah, I've learned a great deal from Minister Abdullah, and Minister Abdullah has been a soldier for this program, and he won't let it down. And so I give Brother Abdullah my heart, man, for that, for standing up for those brothers and sisters who are incarcerated. So shout out.
And what you mentioned, Brother Abdullah, what event you said so much you've learned from him. What are some of the specific things you can share that you've learned from him?
I learned not to never give up on the believers, and to meet a man, where he is in his life and help him get to the next point. Don't worry about what situation or condition he in. Deal with him right there. Stand up for what you believe in as a believer, regardless to where you are. In fact, we brought Minister Abdullah with the assistance of student Minister James Muhammad to the institution a couple times. And right now we're working on making sure that he's able to come, when he comes to Alabama, he's able to come to every institution in Alabama. We're working on getting that straight now. But Minister Abdullah is a soldier, and I thank Allah for you, brother.
And now that you now Mosque 101, what's some of your divisions that you all have? What's some of the things that you all are working on, in the community?
Yes, sir. One of the things that we're doing is we're revitalizing our mosque, and we want to make our mosque a gym in our community. We are residing in what is called the Ridgecrest community, and it's a dilapidated area. But I believe if we can show our brothers and sisters that we can build and make it look immaculate, then I believe that would rub off on their view and their mindset and help them to see that, hey, man, there is some hope for us. In the scripture, it talks about Samson and how honey was being made in a carcass. Well, we want to represent that honey being made in a carcass in our community, so that our brothers and sisters, when they pass by, they can say, man, that's nice. I want to go in and see what's going on. Plus, we're in the process of helping to start a study circle in the city of Dothan, and also Selma. We're looking to go into Selma also to set up something. So we're moving to do more community work in the city of Montgomery.
Beautiful. And how this is a question, because I've been having this desire as well to begin to start setting up a study circle in some places outside of New Orleans that have never really had one. The West Bank, some areas, Marrero. What are some of the steps that you all are doing to set up a study circle? And for those who are watching, a study circle is just a group of believers that are less than, you have to have at least 10, from what I've been told.
Nine on the back. 10, you can petition for a study group.
Okay.
But the blessing is, if you have believers in other areas, this is what we're doing. We have believers in that city, and so that they won't have to trek. Sometimes they are already a part of Muhammad Mosque number 101. So what we do is we find an area, maybe in a home, or they can find a little spot where they can meet on, not nights that we have regular classes, but maybe on a Tuesday or a Thursday, and discuss the message to the black man, discuss the books of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Honorable Louis Farrakhan, and they can sit and talk about that. And then on a Sunday, they pull their resources and they can come to the mosque and hear live teaching. But what we do is we make sure, we facilitate to make sure that they are being given the proper understanding as well as nurturing, so that they can grow into a study group. And therefore, if they grow into a study group, voila, we got a study group in that city that has the potential to grow into a mosque. I think, the more we do that and nurture those areas, then we can see our nation begin to flourish and grow and expand.
Praise be to Allah. And as we're getting ready to close of this interview, are there any words or thoughts, anything that you wanted to share that you did not get the opportunity to share? Maybe you forgot, or I just didn't ask the right question to be able to bring it out of you.
Oh no, you did it, bro. Willie, you the best in the business, there, brother.
All
But
praises be to
I just
Allah.
want to thank you, brother Willie, because you've always been a true brother with me from inside and out, and I respect that straight up.
Be to Allah.
You've never tried to see a situation and say, well, nah, you always been a soldier and always been a brother, man. That's real. And
Praise,
you don't find that a lot of time with people, but you are a brother in
praise be
all
to
the
Allah.
sense of the word. And I thank you for that.
Praise be
I
to
would just
Allah.
like to give a shout out, that's all, to every brother and sister who helped us to become Muhammad Mosque number 101, to our laboring staff, Sister Secretary Cynthia Muhammad, Sister MGT Captain Leah Muhammad, Brother Captain Arthur Muhammad, our protocol director, Brother Talkazay Muhammad. We just like to thank all of those brothers and sisters, this laboring staff, for putting up with everything we have to put up with, and the believers for trusting and supporting the laboring staff. We could not have made any move without the believers. So in closing, I just like to say to everybody who's listening, Minister Farrakhan is God's man. Minister Farrakhan is directly connected to God. And the more we understand Minister Farrakhan and follow the instructions of Minister Farrakhan, then we will receive unlimited progress. The God promised us what we can receive, and he showed us through the example of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan of what we can achieve. So I just want all of us to learn how to love each other as believers, because we are all we have. Don't hold grudges against your brother or your sister, because we've been dogged out by America and we ain't holding a grudge on it. We've been beat down in America and we've never said, well, I'm leaving, I don't want to be here. No, we deal with that and keep it moving. So you should also give your brother and sister the benefit of the doubt. Remember, white folks destroyed us. God is rebuilding us. So in the rebuilding process, you may get a callus, you may get a scratch, you may get a sore back, but we building something. So love your brother and sister believer. Love yourself. Tell yourself daily that, hey, man, I love me. Enhance yourself. If you feel you got too much weight, get it off. Love yourself so that your love can be passed on to somebody else. So I'll close it with that, Brother Willie. I thank our Southern Regional Minister, Minister Abdul Sharrieff, for his hard work. I thank all of the believing brothers and sisters in the Southern region, as well as our nation. I thank our headquarters in the Nation of Islam for their work and sacrifice. And most importantly, I thank the Honorable Louis Farrakhan for standing up for us when we were not and are not able to stand for ourselves. And thank you too, Brother Willie.
And it's Shakir. What is it? Shakir means something like the appreciative.
There you go. Thankful and appreciative.
And that's interesting, right, man. Like how you are really, some people take on attributes and it may not match who they are. But if you go back and when you see people see this interview, one of the many consistent things that you've displayed is a spirit of appreciation. I don't know if you even noticed that. It's so natural. You throughout this whole interview, you stop. Let me think this one. That is really you, brother.
Yes, sir.
And that is a beautiful thing. And our brother in our region, he always says that, I think he quotes a hadith where the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that when you thank one another, you're thanking God. And that's a beautiful spirit, man, because the opposite of being thankful and showing gratitude is what Iblis told God. That's the state he was going to find us in. And recently I've been thinking about that. Like, why didn't he say, God, when you come back, you're going to find them fornicators, you're going to find them this, you're going to find them that. Of course, all of those are sins. But Satan says, when you come back, surely you're going to find them ungrateful. Think about that. So, man, keep that spirit, my brother. And you're not faking it. You sincerely, from the depth of your being, are appreciative of all of the shoulders you stand on, you mentioned, and everybody who's helped contribute to the success that you all have accomplished and are accomplishing and will continue to accomplish there in the city, man. Thank you, my brother. And inshallah,
I got one more brother. I
go ahead.
can't even get him.
Brother
Vincent. Brother Vincent.
Man.
Down there with you, my main man.
Brother Vincent speaks so high of you, man. He speaks, and even a brother, I think I've heard him mention Brother John before. I've heard him mention,
yes, sir.
And he speaks so high of you. I know he's gonna enjoy this interview, man. So thank you, brother. And inshallah, when the things line up here, we'll talk more. We'd love to have you to come on down to the city, but we'll talk about that. Give everybody the greetings, my brother, and may Allah continue to bless you.
Thank you, and likewise, your brother. Wa alaikum salam. Love you, bro.
Sir. Love you too. And for those brothers and sisters who are tuning in, we thank you all for tuning in to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. This is your brother, Brother Louis Muhammad, and we'll be signing off. Peace.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.